But I was thinking about it during the game yesterday. I think baseball, if the MLS and the U.S. national team figure this out, I've been saying it for years, baseball's got one foot in the grave. If soccer can figure it out, baseball is in a world of trouble.
I think soccer can overtake baseball and hockey.
Hockey, it's already passed. I don't even.
It might be, but yeah,
I think a lot of that. I think a lot of that depends on the success of one team in every sport. Well, minus baseball, the U.S. national team. I think as the U.S. national team in any sport does well, they're well funded. Look at the rise of the U.S. team in hockey. Their junior programs almost, I would say, maybe even 1A and 1B is favorites with Canada. It's getting more eyes. Their cities are hosting the junior tournaments more and more, and non-traditional markets. I'm not just talking about the Detroit and the Buffaloes. Dallas, Texas hosted the last tournament. It was the under-18 tournament. Dallas, Texas. Mm-hmm. What does that tell you? They're opening up more of these non-traditional markets, and if they're hosting and they're selling out these arenas, to your point, Rob, it's coming, right? I see these places with hockey teams too. Seattle can be that next market. So yeah, little by little with hockey, and now with soccer, every year it seems like there's one or two new expansion teams. Like I'll be honest with you, I turned the TV on. Toronto's playing Nashville. I didn't even know they had a team. Right? So like Nashville's being added, Cincinnati's being added. It's growing by the year. So I 100%. And the U.S. national team is actually a pretty good team. And I'm not, I don't like to say they're going to be one of the favorites, but they're always looking to do damage in the World Cup. So I think as the U.S. team goes, so does the sport.
And like Canada, the U.S. is starting to develop players at a much better rate. I mean, you look at Christian Pulisic, who plays for Chelsea, just won the Champions League. They've got a lot of good young players that are playing for world-class clubs. I forget his name, but they have a player playing for Barcelona right now. So and I'm telling you, this is going to happen. It is just a matter of time before the United States produces a top end world-class player in soccer. And once that happens, the U.S. knows how to. Yep.
Oh. No, it's yours, Frank. It's your internet. I can hear him fine. He's going fine.
When the United States, it's just a matter of time before they produce a top end level star in soccer. And United States knows how to promote these stars. So once kids have that star to look up to, they're Michael Jordan of soccer, that might bring about that next generation. But you make a good point too, Frank. If the United States national team has any sort of success, that will also bring it up in value in leaps and bounds. So they've got the money behind it. They got the resources behind it. It's just a matter of time. I think it'll overtake baseball. Baseball, I was watching the game with my family yesterday, the soccer game, obviously. It goes into extra time and shootout. The game took 3 hours. You could have a baseball game that goes 9 innings that is longer than that.
The average baseball game is going 3 hours and 15 minutes. A regular season game.
This is what I mean. Like a regular season, like just a run-of-the-mill game. Like it's too long. It's too long. They got to speed it up, and I know they're trying to, but I could tell you, like kids these days, they don't have the attention span for that. They don't want to do that, and they don't want to play it either because it's a lot of standing around and waiting for the ball to come to you. Whereas, soccer, you're much more involved in the game. I think it's just a matter of time for me.
I got two words to describe soccer: fast and efficient. I got 2 words to describe baseball: slow and boring. What sounds like 1980 and what sounds like 2021 to you? And if you're a kid and you're saying, I can run around and play soccer, or I can stand there and play baseball for 3.5 hours. That game, that was the longest. I looked at the clock and I'm like, that was a super long game. And it was a championship. And it went 3 hours. Most games are 2 hours. In and out, bing, bang, boom. Let's get in.
It's amazing.
Let's get out.
And that's what's great about soccer. Like you meet up at the bar with the boys before the game. you have a little pops, you walk to the game, you're out of there in 2 hours.
What about
and
this
then you're
too?
back and you're hanging out with your friends again. So
what about this? You guys are parents. You go to a game with your kid. Do you want to sit there for 3.5 hours with your kid, or 2 hours? Get him in, get him out. Once his attention span is gone, you're out.
Yeah.
Kids are going to love soccer more than baseball. And the MLS, if the MLS ever figures it out, it is game over for baseball. Because baseball gets huge TV contracts because there's no content during the summer. There's no sports, there's no shows. They just get these huge deals from the TV companies because there's nothing else. They need stuff. The MLS is in the summer. The MLS will be direct competition. They'll steal market share. It's just they need better players. And I don't know if you noticed, the MLS did something really smart. Matthew McConaughey, he brought a team to Austin, Texas. What's Austin, Texas? It's a college town. What does that mean? A lot of younger people are going to start watching soccer in Texas. They had fans there just to cheer. Soccer, football, whatever, it's coming. It is coming very fast. And baseball's refusal to adapt is going to be the demise of the sport. And I've been sitting for 5 years telling baseball guy, baseball's dead. And I'm just waiting for me to win the argument. 5 years, 10 years, your kids will love soccer more than they love baseball, which is a complete shock living in the United States and Canada as we do.
Yep. It's crazy to think that like 20, 30 years ago, baseball was number one in the United States. It was ahead of football and basketball. It's not even close to those anymore.
Not even ahead. It was way ahead of basketball. Basketball was the finals in 1970s of basketball was tape delayed. You had to watch it at 11 o'clock as a tape delay. Think about that. Baseball was the national pastime of the United States, and now it's a blip. It's not even on the radar.
You know what's funny? I think we talked about this in one of our very first episodes because we were getting hyped up about the drafts and all of this, and we, obviously we can say the NFL draft is leads, first and foremost. This may have been one of the few years that I can remember, if the first year I can remember, that the MLB draft was actually on television. Usually, okay, if you didn't have the MLB network, you couldn't watch it. I watched maybe 5 minutes of it. I had to turn it off. It was almost as boring as the game was. But the fact that they put it on TV is probably telling me, like, hey, guys, we got to, push up our socks here. We're the only major sport that hasn't even televised their draft other than MLB Network. It was awful. There was no fanfare. They do it mid-season. That's another thing. That's awesome. Like, holy geez, mid-season? Wow.
Even the CFL is televised. We got a televised draft.
There are Division I colleges in the United States that are dropping their baseball teams. Yes. Like, not even going to have a baseball team program. Think about that. In the U.S., crazy. So,
one of these days, these leagues have to learn that the reason the NFL draft and the reason the NBA draft are great is because we watch college sports. It is free advertisement. If the MLB was smart, they would take the NCAA product and start promoting that so that we are more invested. Because Frank, you're watching those guys, and outside of what, like one of the analysts tells you, you don't know who the hell those guys are. You've never seen them before.
Nope. The Mel Kiper of the MLB.
Yeah, is it like whoever it is? But it's like that's the G League is bad for the NBA. They're gonna figure out really quick that this is a bad thing. Nobody watches the G League. Keep those kids in the NCAA. Get them in the tournament. It's free advertising. It's free exposure. Baseball just doesn't have that.
That's a perfect example because even casual fans like myself. Okay, obviously, if I follow hockey, I know who the consensus number one pick is. In the NBA, casual, we know, who's probably going number one. Maybe you might know the first guy or the top two. Now we know it's the top four, right? NFL, pretty obvious because it's well marketed. Did you know? Poll 10 guys. Could they have named the guy who went first overall to was it Pittsburgh? I think.
I still don't. I don't know.
You see what I mean? Like that right there is all you need to know. And I know that the guy that went to the Rangers was the son of Rod Black. That's the only thing I knew today. Or the guy who works for TSN. Like that's pretty sad.
The NHL needs to look at this too and say we need to prop up the CHL. We got to get people watching the CHL. Get people invested. It's just free advertisement for you. Yeah. It's free publicity, and now we have a vested interest in these players.
I can tell you a lot more. That you're right there, but they also have to promote the NCAA hockey up here as well, because there's a lot of Canadian kids that are going down there. That level of hockey is almost right up par with the CHL, and they should be broadcasting that more here than it is down there. But I know where you're going with that. So
they only put the Frozen Four. Get the whole tournament, right? Like, anyway.
Good point.